Welcome, everyone. I call the October 4th, 2024 Landmark Preservation Meeting Board to order. Before we move on to agenda items, I'd like to acknowledge our hybrid meeting format. The City of Bothell is providing the option to attend this meeting either in person or remotely via Zoom. For those participating via Zoom, the chat and question functions are not available for use to ensure compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. We have a public comment agenda item at the beginning of the meeting. This time is for comments on issues not on tonight's agenda. Please limit these comments to 3 minutes. Please note that the City of Bothell does not tolerate verbal harassment, and please remember this during your comments. Public comment will be allowed both in person and via Zoom. Those wishing to comment via Zoom were asked to submit an online form by 3 p.m. today. People wishing to submit written comment were asked to submit those comments by 3 p.m. Email was encouraged as well and will be acknowledged. Those in attendance may also make comments and have been asked to indicate their desire to comment on the sign-in sheets. The Imagine Bothell notice, city website, and tonight's agenda all provided information to the public for providing comment. A call-in number was provided on the meeting agenda for members of the public who wish to call in by phone to listen live to the meeting. For our phone and callers, during staff presentations, staff will make every effort to specify which materials they are referencing so everyone can follow along. At this point, we will take a moment to take roll of the board members by position number. When I say your name, please unmute your microphone and say here. Board Member Thomas.
Here.
Board Member Babajanov.
Here.
Myself, I am here. Board Member Aryulu Jyoti. Board Member Burgess. Board Member Salazar. And Board Member Sampi.
Here.
Thank you. In addition, the following city staff are in attendance: Nick Schmeck, Planner, City of Bothell, and Adam Alsabrook, William Cultural Resource Associates. Thank you both for being here. Before we begin, I'd like to reiterate some meeting guidelines. For all meeting attendees, please speak clearly and pause frequently. Mute your microphone when not speaking. Please state your name before speaking. And for those making presentations, please pause periodically to ask if there are any questions. For board members, at the appropriate times, I will be calling on each member of a position number, asking if they wish to speak or ask a question. I will also be doing this when it is time to vote. If you wish to speak, please indicate this by raising your hand, and I will call you as I see you. This will help to avoid the problem of two people speaking at the same time. Please identify yourself before you ask to speak, make a motion or second a motion, or participate in debate. Please mute your microphone also when not speaking. If you're able, please turn on your cameras if you're able, again. If there are any objections, please raise your hand. See none. The first item on the agenda is non-agenda public comment. If there are any members of the public here, they may speak now about the items that are not on the agenda for tonight. Do we have anyone who is not here to not speak on the current agenda items?
There were no written comments delivered by 3 p.m. today, and I believe everyone in the virtual lobby is either city staff, consultant, or board members.
Okay.
So today would only... Oh, perfect. Sorry about that. Yeah, so as of 3 o'clock today, there were no public comments delivered via email or written, and it looks like everyone in the virtual lobby is a board member, a city consultant, or a city staff member, and it looks like we have one individual from the public in the audience today. Would you like to make a public comment? Fantastic. Thank you.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Well, next on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes from our July 10th meeting. The meetings from our July 10th meeting were included in our packet for review. Would any board member like to make a motion to approve the minutes or have any comments? Board Member Soppy.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Your mic is not on.
Oh, is it on now?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the, now I'm all lost. To
Second.
approve the minutes as written.
Board Member Soppy makes a motion to approve the minutes, and Board Member Thomas seconds. Is there any debate on this topic, on this motion? Seeing none, we will now go to a vote. Board Member Thomas,
Aye.
Board Member Babanov,
Aye.
myself, aye, and Board Member Soppy.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Thank you. Old business. A copy of Board Members Thomas' suggested edits to the bylaws was included on pages 12 to 15 of the agenda packet for tonight's meeting. I now turn it over to Nick Schmeck, Planner, City of Bothell, who will give the staff report and lead the board discussion of this agenda item. So take it away.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so passing along, I want to get it pulled up here. So today, in general, I just wanted to make sure that I provided Board Member Thomas with the option of going over the suggested edits for the bylaws. As the board and community can remember, we already had 2 iterations of updates to the bylaws at the last few meetings that we had. We may be a little rusty as we took the month of August off, and as well as the previous month. So 2 months may leave our memories a little dry on that, but we had to update the bylaws to include a date change as we moved when the board would meet, and just a few house cleanup items, and some Scribner's errors and quick updates to that. I just wanted to say, staff at this time, our recommendation for Board Member Thomas's suggested edits is to not update anything at this time. Today is also not a approval option on today's docket. It's mostly just a discussion. Wanted to make sure that the board had the ability to have the platform to discuss this as it was requested by the board. Why staff highly suggest for no updates in addition to what we have done to the bylaws at this time is because, and I will be giving a larger update on this after our new business items in the staff overall update, we have requested for some funds via the 2025-2026 budget, specifically for the Landmark Preservation Board. And depending on how that budget is adopted by council, we will be adopting a new work plan for the Landmark Preservation Board. And most likely what will be happening pending budget is that the Title 22 will be receiving an overhaul, as well as staff will be updating the code and perhaps the bylaws especially to reflect new state law updates. Therefore, we believe because we have such a big overhaul coming that we're going to need to be editing this anyways, we feel that it's kind of not the best time to dig into how the current bylaws read as it's currently functioning. We're able to meet, we're operating as needed at this moment, and I believe it would be a good opportunity once the budget's set and once we set our work plan to open up the curtains to this and really dig in and get an effective update and suggested edits at that time. That's staff's update at this time. I welcome any questions, concerns, thoughts.
Nick, what's your anticipated timeline on budget approval and then commencing?
So my understanding is that the budget was sent to council over the course of the last few weeks. I don't have a specific date off the top of my head, but I do know that we will be having a study session for council's proposed budget. The study session with council will be on October 15th. I urge all board members to watch and participate as needed, as well as the community. To my knowledge, we will need to set our biannual budget by the end of this year, as that will establish our spending moving forward in the 2025 year. So we should have a good idea in the coming month or two, to my knowledge.
Assuming that the budget's accepted as proposed, what would be your estimated timeline on actually organizing for code revisions and bylaws changes?
I think it'll be set as a part of the work plan. I think the best way I could describe it is that obviously this board's primary focus is day-to-day operations. So, for example, today's new business is some certificate of appropriatenesses. I would believe that that is going to be our priority, as that makes sure that both private and City of Bothell projects can move forward. We want to make sure that we're not holding up any active permits or things like that. I believe that once the budget is set, we can work out what the work plan looks like with you and with council, and we can establish some timeframes with that. My understanding is that, and once again, too, I am going to be giving an extensive update after new business today, which I'll be talking about what is currently on what I'm imagining our work plan is going to look like for the 25-26 calendar year, which includes that overhaul. So I would believe my answer to you, if I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly, is hopefully we can accomplish this work over the next year. And then if anything, as time permits and as budget permits, hopefully we can get to other things. If not, some items may get pushed. As we're all aware, sometimes that happens. Does that answer your question fully?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe as we get into some discussion, then.
Great.
Thank you, Nick.
I guess perhaps my suggestion would be that we could maybe just, unless there's any questions or need for discussion on this matter, we could perhaps just jump over this item. And like I said, my recommendation would be that we can rehash out some of these suggestions once staff have a better update of, once we are able to analyze and confer with legal over requirements for the new code and bylaws for boards and commissions in general.
I don't want to dominate the conversation here, but I may be the only one that has any questions, so I'll just proceed then. Is there anything that you foresee that board members, the Landmarks Preservation Board members, one of the things that I was kind of prepared to talk about tonight and have a discussion of is the idea of getting a working group from landmarks, planning, parks, and arts together to look at where we see or foresee overlaps in our areas and where we might identify future overlaps in terms of, well, things like the special project that I came on the board for was to actually honor native lands in a way that we work to build relationship with our tribal neighbors and Native Americans or indigenous people in our community. And I think Landmarks has while we have a historic mandate to look at the history, that mandate can most be lived out in terms of our parks and our education and our arts to bring vitality to that kind of work. So that was the only proposal that I thought we could discuss. It would be in terms of maybe initiating that task group or works group in the preceding months to better facilitate discussion when we actually get into looking at the work plan development.
Yeah, I think there will be a time and a platform for you to definitely discuss and add that to maybe vision and goals and policies and things like that. I do know for a fact there are some projects that will be coming to this board that conversations about that can be had. For example, the city of Bothell is doing quite an extensive planning process for the future of Bothell Landing, the park at Bothell Landing. And I do know that we have a pretty heavy historic preservation component there with all of the historic structures that we have, as well as potentially an opportunity for indigenous communities and tribal nations to have some representation there. So once again, I think this board is going to have opportunity to bring that up and discuss that. I cannot guarantee that there was, there's going to be an opportunity that the city is going to sponsor a work group for that, but it's something I can definitely run up the chain and put down as an option and an idea. I don't have that authority, so I appreciate that, and that sounds like a fantastic idea. But I think what I'm hearing from you is that there's some specific ideas, maybe and some goals and some ideas that we could apply to a project by project basis for this board. Would that work?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of, just real quick, I like the idea of, I think it's, if I remember right, where the city's kind of looking at this is multiple boards meeting, like, planning and landmarks and parks and, arts or something like that. I know that's been on something the city's been looking at, so it's kind of a similar idea, I think. I like that idea, so just putting that out there.
Part of my plan for the second update too, after the new business as well, is that there is going to be right now it's tentative for March 11th, a plan for a joint meeting with council and this board, the Landmark Preservation Board. I would say, Board Member Thomas, that would be your platform to petition and provide such ideas to council, as they are the ones who kind of set our work plans and budgetary needs and allocate what the city's plan to move forward is on a lot of things. So that would be a great opportunity for you to bring some of that forward.
Thank you.
Um,
Go ahead.
Do we need a motion to move forward then?
No, we can just move forward. There's no motion, approval, denial, anything for this. This is just a discussion for today.
Okay. Well, thank you. Real quick, I'll just ask, are there any more comments on this? Seeing none, we will now go to new business. We're going to be looking at the Certificate of Appropriateness application for the Beckstrom cabin. A copy of the Certificate of Appropriateness application for the Beckstrom cabin was included on pages 19 through 22 of the agenda packet for tonight's meeting. Recent photographs of the Beckstrom cabin are included on pages 24 to 26 of the agenda packet for tonight's meeting. A staff memorandum dated October 1st, 2024 can be found on pages 28 and 29 of the agenda packet. We will now hear the staff report on this application.
Hey Nick, can you hear me?
Yes, I may need you to speak up a little bit.
Hold on just one second. How about now?
Still a little vague, just a little quiet.
About now?
It's no different.
Okay. Sorry. Apologies. Having some technical issues on my end. Hold on.
I can hear you. It's just, it sounds like you're in a different room.
Hold on just one second.
It happens, we understand.
Okay.
And it honestly just may be because it's in the speakers in here. So we can hear you if I wouldn't spend too much time. We can muddle
Okay.
through.
Can you hear me, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gosh, Nick, when did we receive this application for a certificate of appropriateness? It was last week. This has, been a real, the ongoing projects at the park at Bothell Landing have been, some of them were approved. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. Their certificates of appropriateness go back to 2018, if I recall correctly. And so, when the board granted those certificates of appropriateness at that time, there was not really a straightforward motion about whether or not potentially replacement gutters could be materials other than wood. And so that's the lead in for both of these certificates of appropriateness. So the first one that we're going to discuss tonight is the Beckstrom cabin. And the Beckstrom cabin at the park at Bothell Landing currently has a wood gutter. It's a very, very, very simple, straightforward, gable roof with a wood gutter. And, these wood gutters, have a little bit of a profile. On the Beckstrom cabin, there's only a gutter on, no, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, only one side of the roof, correct? So it is, it appears to be only over the entry side of the roof, like the main entry. And then there's just a simple metal downspout. So the applicant, the design team that's... Hello?
Hey, Adam, just for reference, the picture here is showing the back door, the side where there is no gutter. The other side there, that side has the simple gutter.
Okay. Thank you. So the Parks Department and their design team attempted to source wood gutters for the Beckstrom cabin and also the Hannan house, which we're going to review as part of a separate application in a few moments. The costs for the wood gutter came back at 10 times the cost of a comparable sheet metal gutter. And in the interest of the ongoing historic preservation of these buildings, the idea was formulated to match the existing, to fabricate new metal gutters to match the profile of the existing wood gutters, and that the sheet metal gutters would then be, painted in a compatible paint color, with this integral finish. And so, the gutters do come in some different colors. What it might end up being, that final color, I think, there was some discussion about like musket brown and, in the color chip sample, as presented. Yeah, Nick, there's some other pictures on the next page of the existing gutter, on that side of the cabin. And so just to be clear, the re-roofing has been approved previously several years ago. Something for the board to keep in mind is that the city of Bothell does not have expiration dates on their certificates of appropriateness. And so, the work in this case has apparently been, delayed by funding. And so they're finally getting around to doing this work, and then encountered this really, really difficult sourcing problem. If I recall from our conversation with the applicant correctly, I believe that there were only 2 legitimate vendors who were willing to eat. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Thank you, Nick, for the clarification. 1 vendor, which, just that's not a great situation, as anybody who's in the design field knows. And so the applicant's proposal is to remove the existing wood gutter and install a painted sheet metal gutter with the profile matching what is already there on that wood gutter. And the downspout in this instance would stay the same. And so it's the staff recommendation that, in consideration of the fact that, a city-funded installation and collection of buildings such as the park at Bothell Landing, that a 10 times cost difference is just not in a great public interest. And so the recommendation is that this meets the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation, standards number 5 and 6. You could probably also say that the most important consideration here is that the gutter be installed and that the roof have a gutter. And so the staff report is, the staff recommendation, from the staff report is approval of the certificate of appropriateness. Thank you, Nick.
I would just like to mention too, I think it's, kind of an opportunity as well. It is odd that, a C of A from 2018 has made it all the way back. We did go back and reread that, and it was actually made pretty clear on my second attempt to read it that the C of A was broken down into 2 components, one being the roof, one being the gutters. And it looked like the gutters, from the board's suggestion, required follow-up, and then there never was any follow-up. So I want to take this opportunity to thank our Parks Department for being diligent, and our operations departments from being, diligent of maintaining our resources at a very high level and making sure that this did come back to this board for approval. So I just wanted to say maybe we can look at this as an opportunity. The roof is going to get replaced, and now also, hopefully with your approval today, the gutters can get replaced and drainage can be dealt with as needed. That's all.
I just want to make a comment. I was on the board when we did that. It is really challenging to see that happen, and maybe we can put in place the ability to check on things a little more timely, but also, we don't want to let any of the resources down there have maintenance issues, because that's just going to cost so much more than our budgets.
I know that is our maintenance and our Parks Department's primary focus. I would like to urge you to remember too that we went through a pandemic from this period where a lot of things just were operationally happening, and then everything just kind of went out the window and everything was halted. And if you can think about it, something like this can be easily forgotten as well. So we're hoping that we're here today to remedy that.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but when it was initiated in 2018, and it's just, if we could possibly get some sort of a timeline when we do these with Parks or whoever's going to do the work, then we would have something to reference back to and check on.
Are there any other comments before we would make a motion? Or questions? Okay, well, seeing none. Would a board member like to make a motion?
Member Thomas, I would move that we accept the certificate of appropriateness so that Parks can move forward with correcting drainage and roofing and gutters.
If I may, we in the script, if you, I believe.
Is there a script?
Yeah,
Motion? Okay.
The chair
Thank
has
you.
it, and I can make sure to provide that to you next time. But we do have a draft motion if
Okay.
the chair would slide that over to board
I
member.
got it.
You got it.
Sorry, I wasn't following along there on the
It's on page.
too many
4 of 7.
agendas in front of me. Sorry.
No worries. Option 1, I believe, is the
Yep,
direction
got
we're
it.
going.
I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for the Beckstrom cabin submitted with the finding of fact that the proposed roof gutter system replacement meets the requirements set forth in Bothell Municipal Code, Title 22, Chapter 28, and also meets standards 5 and 6 of the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation.
Okay, Board Member Thomas makes the motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for the Beckstrom cabin. Is there a second?
A second.
Board Member Sompi seconds. Is there any comments on the motion? Seeing none, we will now go to a vote. Board Member Thomas,
Aye.
Board Member Bajanov,
Aye.
myself, aye, and Board Member Sompi.
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
I think we can move on to the next item here. Thank you. The next item, Adam will also be giving an overview. However, it's the same topic, but just a different structure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, in a very similar vein to the Beckstrom cabin, there are wood gutters on the Hannan house that also match the wood gutter that match the profile of the wood gutter used on the Beckstrom cabin. Nick, could you flip to the bigger photos later in the packet, please? Yeah, thank you very much. So these, they need to be replaced ASAP before any further damage occurs to this particular historic building. This is a really, really, really bad situation that needs to be remedied as soon as possible. The profile, once again, will match. I believe that the color, it's like the applicant also endeavors to match the color as closely as possible. Because I believe that those colors are representative of what was on it historically, is my understanding. And so the staff recommendation is that this meets Secretary of the Interior Standards number 5 and 6 and recommends approval.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments?
Let's get her done.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, Board Member Bajanov.
Yeah, in the previous home that you guys mentioned, it was 10 times the cost. Can I actually know the number?
I do not have the number in front of me. We do have Jeff Sperry from our operations and parks division, I believe, who is managing this from the city side. Jeff, do you have the number? If not, Board Member Babajana, I'm happy to get that to you at a later date if we do not have that on hand.
I can give you our estimate number that we received for 100 linear feet of wood gutter, which came to just over $20,000 for the wood gutters.
100 linear feet is for both homes or just this?
That's just 100 linear feet. That's what we're basing our estimate off of. I don't know the exact linear feet for all of the buildings, but we're just putting together an estimate, and we would be ordering more than the 100 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. So the previous home had maybe two sides of, I don't know, 15 feet each. That's about 30. All right. Thank you.
And just a real quick note for a point of clarification, with the Public Works Department, not the Parks Department. So,
Sorry about that. Thank you.
no worries.
Okay, real quick, do we have any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will now ask for a motion. Board Member
I'll make a
Sampi.
motion. Okay. Approve the, I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for the Hannan House. I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for the Hannan House as submitted, with the finding of fact that the proposed roof gutter system replacement meets the requirements set forth in Bothell Municipal Code, Title 22, Chapter 28, and also meets standards 5 and 6 of the Secretary of Interior's Standards for Rehabilitation.
Second.
Board Member Sampi makes the motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for the Hannan House. Board Member Thomas seconds. Is there any comment on this motion? Seeing none, we will now go to a vote. Whoops, wrong packet. There we go. Board Member Thomas?
Aye.
Board Member Babajanov?
Aye.
Myself, aye. And Board Member Sampi?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you, Public Works staff and consultants, for being here for this. Appreciate it.
I've got to say, I drive past that house all the time, and it's cool we're doing that. So that's all. Just a quick comment.
I have a comment. Can we get a proposed date for this? Because it's starting to rain.
Jeff, you got anything on that?
We're actually moving forward with that right now. We're waiting for materials for the roof, and that's going to finish out before end of year, and we'll be doing the gutters at the same time with the roof.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. As you all can imagine, ordering materials right now takes time.
Get them ordered now. I am already having trouble getting carpet from Georgia for jobs.
Yeah.
And it's only been a week.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going on to report from staff. Go ahead.
That'll be me.
Yes, thank you.
Nick Schmeck, planning here. Perfect. So I did talk about some of this earlier in our discussion under old business, but I will go ahead and give an overview. I'm going to scroll down so we're not just looking at this. I believe that's the end of it, so I'll just go to the front here. So yes, as I mentioned before, you can go online and you can view our executive teams and city managers' suggested budget that's going to be proposed to council at the October 15th council meeting. That'll be a study session of the proposed budget. And why does that why does that have any importance for us? It has importance because we have from Planning Director Director Greenspan, we have a request of some budget expenses for this board for some of the work that we're hoping to prepare over the next year. So we will be waiting to hear back to see what is approved by council for that. I would say specifically some of the things that I'm imagining that will be on this board's work plan for the following year. Once again, pending the approval of that budget. One will be the overhaul of Title 22, both for streamlining purposes, for cleaning up the code, for any, as we can all imagine, some of the proposals that have came through here as of late, specifically regarding the DSRA, specifically regarding just the interpretation of the code. We all can, I think, agree that it needs a little bit of some cleanup to some specific procedures. I would say, piggying back off of that, I specified the DSRA starting next year as proposed by our comprehensive plan. And at council's direction, the community development department is going to be redoing their downtown sub-area plan. So we'll be doing a sub-area planning effort, which once again includes some of that historic preservation elements and the downtown special review area. Some of that will be coming in front of you for guidance and suggestions. And really the point of my update today too is to just let you guys know there's a lot of cool stuff coming, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for making a difference with our existing procedures and how Bothell functions and making sure we're meeting our goals of historic preservation. So that's a good example. Another one is going to be, we're all very aware that the historic inventory needs an update as well. We need to collect all of the information we have, go through our archives, make sure we have that fully up to date, because as this board is aware, we have added a few different new landmarks to our registry. So once again, I'm imagining updating that is going to have multiple different functions, and some of which I'm thinking will include maps, maybe some story maps, as well as just resources for the public, our website presence, and just the register as a whole. I wanted to also update the board, letting them know that after some diligent searching and one specific staff member, actually our admin manager, Debbie Watkins, she found our, I believe it was the template for our plaque that we provide to new registered, Bothell registered properties for landmarks. And I was actually able to get in contact with the company that we've been using for the last, I believe, 10 years. It'll probably longer than that. And they still have a template of our plaque on hand, and it's still operating as well. They actually trialed it last week and it worked just perfectly. So we are going to be getting a new quote for those and making sure that if I think one thing our board needs to analyze, and I think this is going to be a part of that code overhaul, is I believe, and I think board member Sompi can probably direct me if I'm incorrect, I believe we've been providing these as out of our budget to registered properties once you guys have approved the landmark here at the board. And I think from what I'm hearing, depending on our budget, that's something that the city of Bothell would like to continue doing. So we are getting a quote for that, and we're going to be looking at a few different options, whether or not we want to stockpile a few of these or perhaps purchase them on a case-by-case basis. I do know that one thing that has been thrown around is perhaps, our goal as the landmark board is we would like to try to adopt and add 2 new landmarks a year. I don't think that that's always going to be the case, but that could be a goal that we strive for. So we'll be taking a lot of that into consideration, as well as, I think, tying this back to the code. The code does not explicitly say that the city of Bothell provides that, so maybe that's something we'll need to codify to make that super clear, both for city staff and for the applicants. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's a really good idea. We have, trying to recall, because it was actually back in the 90s when we got our first plaques.
Yeah.
And we did it for all 3 levels. Currently, the biggie is getting our local registry properties. And typically, we've provided the main plaque. Pat would have to correct me if I'm wrong, but did we provide the title or the name of it for the private ones?
So
I think we've only done it for the public ones.
Our
I don't know, I'd have to go and look at the neighbor down the street.
Yeah, because there is
Yeah,
one just down the street.
We'll
from
be
Pat.
looking at all of them. To my knowledge, the plaque that the company that has our plaque on hand and the ones that I know for a fact we've been providing to people just says City of Bothell Landmark, has our logo, and it's the bronze medal.
Yeah.
I believe that is what, at this time, the city is interested in providing. And once again, I think this is going to be up for a conversation as we're doing this overhaul over the course of the next year.
You know, that's, I mean, I don't.
That works.
Great.
I would like to bring up this is just an addendum item that has kind of been played through, and you actually mentioned it, and that's providing more public information, like you said, the map, et cetera, that we've talked in the past about, and it's kind of gone by the wayside, using QR codes, like maybe even where we have a public landmark, having the QR code there in a way that people can get the information specifically about that place.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should be looking at a multitude of venues and avenues for getting that information out there. And I think that will be all once we adopt this work plan and we strategize and start digging into these specific work docket items, we can get all the suggestions going. Absolutely.
I'm going to bring up one other one because this speaks, directly to some of your interests. And that's that since we're looking at this and you're doing parks, we have our piece of the trail, so to speak. And we know that the university has information on our Native American sites, even though we don't want to necessarily call attention to them. We have an opportunity to think a little more globally in how we provide that information so that we're consistent to all our sites, because we've not been able to get a good handle on that. So I'm just reiterating that.
One of my items on here too is, so as I was mentioning, I think prior, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the new business we were talking about today. Next week, October 17th, there will be a open house design concept about the park at Bothell Landing. The city of Bothell is going through an extensive planning process. I believe we perhaps have already had a few community input gathering events. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not working on that, but I do know there's another one coming up, like I said, October 17th. And I, as a community development staff member, am supporting our Parks Department in some of the feasibility of the proposals, and one of which we've already started to have a discussion about one, Park at Bothell Landing being a very serious historic preservation and landmark asset, and that this board should have the opportunity to provide some ideas, especially if we're going to be changing the look of the park. But on top of that, it's been suggested that they would like to include some conversations and reaching out potentially to some of our tribal partners. And once again, I think that would be another opportunity to bring that to this board to have a discussion. I am still waiting to hear about more specific details from Aaron Milner, who's leading the park project. But as I'm a part of that, I am making sure and reminding them that there is opportunity to bring that kind of content to this board for feedback. And I do think that there are some items specifically in regards to any modifications to those existing structures will have to come here, as you're very much so aware. But more specifically, I think we need to look at it as the park as a whole as well. And I do know that they agree. So there's going to be some opportunities of what you're describing more on a project by project basis, but still that they will be able to come to this board. Hopefully that, yeah. So
Nick, you said that's going to be on October 17th.
that is just the design concept. So they're just putting out some feelers of, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Hey, we're thinking about doing that. And you're welcome to go and participate and provide some feedback.
At where and what time is that?
I actually prepared for this. And
I guess it's probably online. I haven't seen it
is
yet.
Open House Park at Bothell Landing Concept Design Project. It's October 17th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. here at City Hall. And it's free to attend. So yeah, highly recommend. Once again, we are very early on in feasibility and design concepts. But tell your friends, especially any representatives of the museum, anyone who's a Bothell resident, come and provide any ideas for what this park could be. It's a park for everyone, and it's not just, once again, I think it's not just a playground. It's also a place where we have a lot of history, and that can be explained in many different ways.
And we're very interested in the indigenous portion because there is not a lot of information available. I mean, we know who was trading with the Indians, who were speaking the languages and so forth. Some of that information we have, but because they've taken away their property and put them on the reservation.
Right. I can tell you that the consultants who are supporting our Parks Department on this have already broached that very conversation and have asked Adam and I to help them start a conversation, and they want to reach out to the tribes themselves, especially. And so I think they are seeing, once again, we're in stage one of this entire project. They are seeing those opportunities that you're describing.
Jeff has done some stuff because I've gotten
Great.
it probably.
So yeah, that's what's happening with Bothell Landing. Some more updates too. I wanted to make sure that the board was aware the IB Graham House has the agreement has been recorded, so we are completely through the process. I think the last thing that we need to do now is just to get a plaque ordered. So once again, I have reached out to the company that manufactures the plaque, and I'm getting a quote, and then we'll go from there. And we will get one for the IB Graham House. And then last but not least, the McAdoo House is still pending some more paperwork, owner signature, and the recording of the agreement. So we're still waiting on that one. That is all from me, other than I did mention this earlier too, put this on your calendar, the joint Landmark Preservation Board council meeting, March 11th. That is a Tuesday. And depending on our landmark board needs in regards to what's coming down the pipe in regards to, monthly business, that may be a special meeting, and we may have to have two. That's, usually it's always my goal not to take too much of your guys' time. I always appreciate it, but looking at the calendar, March 11th, that would be the day before your guys' second Wednesday meeting. So hopefully we can just have the one, but I just like to give everyone a heads up. You know, if we do have some landmark reviews that need to come through, we may have to have back-to-back meetings.
Well, that's just more fun.
Exactly. More fun. Any questions, thoughts about all of that? I know I just kind of spouted a lot of information, but I guess long story short, once this budget's adopted and I'm able to work through with my supervisors and managers and the planning director, we then can come forward to this board and hopefully adopt a work plan and get to work.
The Bothell, the landing project, how long is that? You might have already answered this, but how long is that supposed to go through? Like because I know we've got a lot of good community feedback from that. I know there's been at least a couple open houses. So the city is doing a good job of getting feedback, so I'm appreciative of that. But just curious, that's all.
Unfortunately, I don't know the timing on that.
That's okay.
I can definitely get that information and bring that back to the board for our next meeting.
Yeah, no problem.
And also, once again, I think that the Bothell Landing project in general has a component that relates to this board.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my goal that they're going to come give you guys a presentation anyways, and you can get some of those updates from them and, you know, the ramp of the timeline of the project.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll be involved in, no problem then. Great. That was my only question regarding the update or comment. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Nick. And now we will go to reports from board members. So does anyone have a report to give? I do have one, so I'll wait a couple of seconds, see if anyone else has one, then I'll talk. Well, anyway, so a couple weeks ago, there was a meeting with City Council and all the boards and commissions, and that was really a fun time. I believe it was the last, it was the fourth Tuesday. And it was really cool to meet all the other, a lot of the other board members from other boards and commissions. There was a staff presentation that I really enjoyed. I learned that the city of Bothell had way more volunteers than we had positions open, which is really good. We're really a community of volunteers, and people are eager to serve on a board, which I think is really cool and unique. I don't know if all cities have that, but that's something that I was happy to hear. I know it sounds like there'll be another open house for boards and commissions too, which I remember I went to one last year, and it was really. It was a good turnout. It was just in the other room over here, and it was it was booming. A lot of people were out there, and I'm kind of rambling about that, but that was really fun. So I'm happy to see that come back. And again, I was already going to speak on it. We already kind of spoke on it. Was the multi-board meetings with parks, arts, landmark preservation, planning, and kind of. I really like that idea. It's a good idea to meet and work with our fellow board members. So that's my little update. Seeing as there are no other board member updates, would a board member like to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Board Member Thomas moves to adjourn, and Board Member Sampi seconds. Is there any comment on this? Going once, going twice, seeing none. Board Member Thomas?
Aye.
Board Member Babajanov?
Aye.
Myself, aye, and Board Member Sampi.
Aye.
It passes 4-0. Thank you, everyone.